In Buckingham Palace, quiet is said to be the loudest sound. However, in early 2026, the silence broke. It shattered. It began with a murmur at sea and culminated in an explosion that reached the highest echelons of authority. Although the majority of people believe that the Sussexes' journey started with a glass of wine and a fortunate Instagram follow, a darker, saltier story has been hiding beneath the surface for years. It's a tale about millionaires, yachts, and the kind of secrets that are traded like money in high society. And now the Once Upon a Time is being rewritten into Once Upon a Yacht because of a series of deliberate internal signals. This goes beyond a career in front of the throne. A duchess who aspires to reimagine the future and a royal institution that won't allow the past to be forgotten are at odds. There was a different Meghan long before the international headlines, before the titles, and before the security detail. During the grind era, a Hollywood actress would network her way into rooms that most people are unaware even exist, rather than simply waiting for a call. However, the actual rooms were floating on the Mediterranean, not in Los Angeles. We are discussing the high-stakes world of elite yachting, where the guest lists are more exclusive than a state dinner and influence flows as freely as champagne. Meghan's participation in these circles has been the subject of rumors for years. Images from the Amalfi Coast, Ibiza, and St. Tropez depict a woman who was at home among the world's elite. However, those images are more than nostalgic in the context of 2026. They serve as proof. According to insiders, these were planned advertising appearances rather than simple vacations. Beautiful, aspirational ladies are frequently invited into these extremely exclusive circles to improve the mood for billionaires and influential people. It's a world of yacht girls, a term with significant and contentious connotations. Although Meghan's team has often insisted that she was just a prosperous woman content with her life, the current narrative points to something much more deliberate. Not only is it unclear if she was present, but it's also unclear who she met when the cameras weren't there. Because the rules of engagement are different outside of the tabloids. Until someone decides they are more valuable than the quiet, secrets remain more secure than any castle vault. The problem with the Mediterranean is that although the water is clean, its past is unclear. These stories from 2026 indicate a certain summer when Meghan's social circle started to intersect with the same individuals the royal family had spent decades attempting to stay away from. It was a tactic, not an accident. However, the gatekeepers of the Mediterranean have long memories, and they don't hesitate to utilize them, as she would soon discover. However, those secrets of the Mediterranean were only the start. The digital world's decision to confirm what the yachting community already knew was the true shock. When a voice from the core of the financial elite chose to comment, the puzzle grew more complex. A shocking revelation from John Lefebvre, the guy responsible for the notorious GS elevator account, a window into the ruthless world of Goldman Sachs and international finance, turned the fairy tale upside down. He pointed explicitly at the digital paper trail rather than only hinting at rumors. The world was informed that Harry and Meghan, a contemporary romance for the digital age, met on Instagram. Lefebvre, however, made a far more pointed assertion. She had met other royals online before Prince Harry. These revelations show that Meghan's network reached well into the Middle East. She was purportedly flown in by Saudi circles that prioritized secrecy and beauty, and it was claimed that she was a frequent travel companion on visits to France and Dubai. Lefebvre called Harry the idiot who attempted to transform a global socialite into a housewife in his scathing remarks. This was more than simply a jab at their romance. It was a charge that the self-made independent actress Meghan, to whom the world was sold, was lacking a significant Saudi-funded chapter. The context of 2016 is completely altered if these assertions are even slightly true. It implies that Meghan was already well-versed in navigating the world of princes and power when she first met Harry. She was a seasoned member of the elite social circle, not a recent arrival in the royal sphere. The Instagram Meet Adorable begins to resemble a final move in a long-term strategy rather than a fortunate break. The realization that he might not have been the story's protagonist but rather the prize is a tough pill to swallow for Harry, the guy who burnt every bridge to save the lady he loved. The story changed from one of romance to one of recruitment. However, a far more dangerous voice was getting ready to come from inside the family itself as the financial elite began to speak. Fergie has always been the wild card in Sarah Ferguson's Windsor's universe. Compared to most royals, she has survived more controversies than birthdays. She was banished from the game and battled her way back, so she knows how to play it. The world briefly stopped turning when she casually said in early 2026 that Meghan Markle was directly connected to Prince Andrew's darkest circles. It was a calculated move to refer to Meghan as Prince Andrew's first customer. According to insiders, Ferguson is playing a much larger game than anyone is aware of. She has seen the Sussexes control the story for years, portraying themselves as the sole victims of a cold institution. But no one is more familiar with the institution than Fergie. She successfully undermined Meghan's moral superiority by associating her with Andrew, the most toxic name in the royal circle. It served as a warning to the world that the palace has its own truths to share if the Sussexes wish to discuss openness and truth. Here, timing is crucial. Fergie's disclosures are a huge diversion as the stories surrounding the 2026 Australia visit gain momentum. Every time the public begins to inquire about Prince Andrew's background, a fresh Meghan secret appears in the news. It's a traditional royal diversion. Ferguson is defending the father of her children by making sure the spotlight is too bright for anyone else to stand in, rather than merely disparaging Meghan for the sake of it. Because she was present when such social groups intersected, she is implying that she is privy to the secrets of the yachting era. The receipts are in her possession, and she is at last prepared to exchange them for the survival of her own family. This was more than just rumors. It was a declaration of war, and the battlefield was going to get considerably denser. Not only is the Yacht Girl label the most terrifying aspect of this 2026 comeback, but it's also tea. Is the Yacht Girl label the most terrifying aspect of this 2026 comeback, but it's also the company that the label maintains. In royal circles, the topic of sailing invariably brings up Jeffrey Epstein's shadow. The one subject that Buckingham Palace wishes to bury under 10 feet of concrete is the third rail of royal scandals. However, Sarah Ferguson's remarks did the unimaginable. They linked Prince Andrew and Meghan Markle. Now, speculation about the possible intersection of these two universes is at an all-time high. Meghan was allegedly moving in circles that were dangerously near to Andrew's social group during those enigmatic summers in the Mediterranean. We are discussing the same private islands, the same guest lists, and the same fixers who oversee the lives of the ultra-wealthy. According to certain sources, Meghan was well known in Andrew's social circle before she ever met Harry. It has disastrous implications. It implies that the palace may have previously had a file on Meghan rather than simply learning about her. The palace's reaction to Meghan was visceral from the start, which makes sense if she was a member of the same social fabric. It had nothing to do with her being an actress or an American. Rather, it had to do with the circles she frequented. They wanted to conceal certain aspects of the royal life, but they saw a woman who knew too much about them. Meghan was a possible leak rather than a breath of fresh air for London's quiet elite. And now in 2026, the Andrew overlap is turning into a crucial choice for those who wish to have the Sussexes permanently silenced as investigators sift and examine old photos and flight logs. However, the man caught in the middle is beginning to notice that the ground is changing beneath his feet while the palace considers its next course of action. 2026 was meant to be a year of validation for Prince Harry. He was prepared to prove to the world that he had triumphed, with his initiatives planned and a prominent story surrounding the Australia tour. However, the yacht rumors didn't merely reappear, they took center stage. The Duke has been totally caught off guard, according to people close to him. The script did not include this. He told the world for years that Meghan was an innocent victim of a cruel system, but now he has to deal with a narrative that implies she was a powerful figure in that system long before he came. The tension in Montecito is reportedly tremendous behind closed doors. Harry is reportedly questioning the UK's quiet in addition to being upset with the media. Who's doing this? He asks. Yet the answer may be closer than he would like to acknowledge. He feels betrayed not only by the yacht girl's statements, but also by the fact that no one in the family is speaking out against them. Silence is a sign of confirmation in the realm of royalty. Friends report that he is growing more agitated as he gets ready for his engagements in 2026. The guy who left the throne to defend his family is now understanding that you can't shield someone from a past you don't completely comprehend. He is torn between an increasing number of what-ifs and his devotion to his wife. Did he save her? Or was he the one hired? That question grows louder each time he reads the headlines. Furthermore, it is getting harder to overlook the fissures in the Sussex Foundation as the discontent grows. However, Harry's annoyance is precisely what those in charge of this mayhem desired. Because this was a surgical procedure rather than a chance leak. You must comprehend how London's information system operates. It is positioned rather than merely leaking. The gatekeepers are responsible for the headlines we are seeing in 2026, the timing of Ferguson's remarks, the reappearance of the GS elevator tweets, and the emphasis on the yachting years. These individuals, who exchange information like money, are known as the quiet elite. They are the senior fixers, the editors of major broadsheets, and the old guard courtiers who have witnessed the rise and fall of dynasties. Several accounts claim that this story was tested before it was made public. It was disseminated to a few media moguls and whispered in the appropriate ears at dinner parties in Belgravia to see how it would go. They wanted to see if the public would take the yacht girl story seriously or if it would be written off as more tabloid garbage. The public's obsession was evident from the findings. The dirt was ready by the time Sarah Ferguson spoke. The timing was practically surgical. It struck at the very moment the Sussexes were attempting to change the direction of their business, thus returning their public image to the scandals they had attempted to avoid. The London aristocracy retaliates in this way. To change perception, they employ the truth or a version of it rather than litigation or public declarations. They were aware that by associating Meghan with the yachting industry, they may start a domino effect that neither Montecito nor Buckingham Palace could stop. They are guiding the ship, not merely narrating a tale. And they're directing it straight into a confrontation between two of the most aspirational ladies who have ever married into the family. This is a rivalry between two ladies who are masters of the royal narrative, not just a scandal. Sarah Ferguson, the survivor with nothing left to lose, is on one side. Meghan Markle, on the other hand, is a strategist who stands to lose everything. This is referred to by insiders as the scorched earth era. For decades, Fergie has been marginalized and frequently made fun of by the very organization she stood up for. However, Meghan's use of a similar outsider story to garner international attention appears to have provoked a furious backlash. Ferguson was one of the bodies for a long period, so she knows where they are buried. She is not merely criticizing Meghan's character when she brings up the yachting years. She is leveling the playing field. It's her way of saying, if I have to live with my past, so do you. If it means she gets to hold the matches, she's willing to set the entire thing on fire. It's a fight for legacy. Fergie wants to make sure that her scandals pale in comparison to what is being discovered about the Sussexes when history books are written. Meghan, on the other hand, is confronted with a threat that is difficult to resolve by litigation. A signal cannot be sued. A whisper cannot be sued. The Sussex camp is forced to play defense against a ghost as Ferguson keeps hinting at reprisal and revenge. The critics have described Meghan's story as raw, messy, and deeply skanky, endangering the polished humanitarian image she has worked so hard to cultivate. The player with the fewest losses typically prevails in this game, which pits two distinct universes against one another. However, Montecito is developing a new tactic as the conflict rages, indicating that it is far from over. The location of this scandal has moved from the Mediterranean. Two distinct universes against one another. However, Montecito is developing a new tactic as the conflict rages, indicating that it is far from over. The location of this scandal has moved from the Mediterranean to the Southern Hemisphere as 2026 progresses. The much-anticipated 2026 tour of Australia, which was meant to be the Sussexes' spectacular comeback to the world stage, has instead turned into a focal point for a degree of public animosity that is uncommon in the Commonwealth. A number of no-go zones have replaced what was supposed to be a victory lap. According to intelligence sources, the yacht girl narrative is being weaponized on the ground and is no longer merely a digital rumor. Cities like Sydney and Melbourne are said to have a chilly atmosphere. Republicans used to be the main focus of protests, but they are now becoming much more intimate. At planned tour stops, signs revealing the boat secret and the truth about 2011 have started to appear, creating a PR disaster that the Sussex security team is finding difficult to handle. According to insiders, the Australian public, which is renowned for its tough outlook, is specifically responding to the impression of hypocrisy. The resurgence of a history that seems to have been meticulously edited is causing a huge rift for a marriage that has advocated for living your truth. The purpose of the Australia tour was to demonstrate their applicability. Rather, it is demonstrating the extent of a royal shadow's reach. However, the most hazardous aspect of this 2026 conflict is taking place in the digital lab rather than on the streets. There have been rumors regarding a project code named Genetic Freak among high-level tech circles. The reality is significantly more rooted in the future of information warfare, even though the name sounds like science fiction. High-end digital artists and multimedia creators are reportedly creating photorealistic digital materials that frighteningly accurately recreate these purported boat scenarios. This is not your typical low-quality deepfake. These digital recreations are indistinguishable from actual forensic evidence because of 85mm lens simulations, high dynamic range illumination, and nano-banana-level AI rendering. The intention is to redefine history by flooding the internet with visually stunning reconstructions of the past. This is a horrible situation for Meghan, who has always depended on the technical flawlessness of her image. The struggle will be over what appears to be true, rather than what actually occurred when the genetic freak assets become popular. In 2026, a digital gallows is being built, and visual proof will be the final arbiter. Buckingham Palace must make an immediate decision as these two worlds, the digital assets of the Genetic Freak project and the actual protests in Australia, begin to converge. Do they allow the scandals of 2026 to overwhelm the Sussexes? Or do they intervene to shield the establishment from a mess that is beginning to affect the crown itself? According to the most recent rumors circulating through the palace halls, King Charles is being pressured to provide one last explanation on the Sussexes' situation. This would be a severance rather than a defense. The palace would effectively be leaving the Duke and Duchess to deal with the yacht girl accusations on their own by formally separating the monarchy from their personal histories. This brutal action is indicative of a monarchy that has transitioned from the protection era to the preservation age. The message is obvious to Harry and Meghan. There are no lifeboats this time, and the water is rising. The atmosphere of Montecito has changed from shock to survival as the fallout from these 2026 disclosures settles. Meghan Markle is a woman who understands the influence of a royal brand. She is apparently pulling back from the spotlight to concentrate on high-level humanitarian activities after realizing that the yacht story is becoming too popular. It's a common maneuver to switch to the global story when the personal one becomes too heated. However, the stakes are bigger this time. Once the focal point of their strategy, the 2026 Australia tour is now seen differently. Every action is being closely examined to ensure authenticity. Meanwhile, Prince Harry is reportedly in an entirely different frame of mind. He is torn between a family past that won't let him go and the lady he loves. He is described by friends as aloof and agitated. Now, the freedom he wanted in California seems like a strange type of cage made of ghosts from the internet and stories. He's coming to the realization that traveling across the ocean only made the whispers travel farther rather than severing the link to the palace. The silence inside the palace is still overwhelming. They are keeping an eye on the cracks as they appear, wondering if the Sussexes will be able to weather this storm or if the story of the boat girl will be the one to shatter the foundation. They don't need to, so they aren't getting involved. The gatekeepers have fulfilled their duties. The narrative is out there, evolving, changing, and expanding. For the royal family, survival is paramount. For Harry and Meghan, the question is whether love can really withstand the burden of a legacy that was never as pure as it appeared. What truth was worth upsetting everything for is still the last question. And who has the audacity to tell us what will happen next? Because in this world, every move has a purpose, every secret eventually comes to light, and every headline links. You've been watching Palace Secrets, where the past is never truly gone and the truth is rarely straightforward. The next episode of this 2026 saga will be considerably more intense, so be sure to hit subscribe and enable those notifications. The storm has just begun. It is far from over.